It's Deprogram, the podcast where we try to get you into a band. That's right. We've done all the work for you. All you have to do is press play and listen. My name is Justin, and I am band curious. Indeed, curious about bands. And normally, what we would do on an episode of Deprogrammed is get a panel of people together, talk about a band, and come out with a top 10 starter kit list for you to get into the band as well. We're not doing that today. I don't know how you stumbled across this. Please consider hitting subscribe if you have indeed just stumbled across us. If you're not new here, then you knew that something was coming up. It's Friday. Normally we'd do a Q&A, and we'll get back to the Q&As. I forgot to prompt questions to be aid, so we do not have any questions this week. We'll get back to it eventually. But last week on the show, or on this episode, Joe prompted me live to just go off the top of my dome, top 5 shows, and that went over well. So we wanted to revisit that idea, and John popped in and said, I would love to do my top 5, and then proceeded to bring 13. Which, I mean, whatever, man. It's cool.
I tried.
I mean, you know, we at this point in our lives, we've all seen a lot of great shows. So do it however you wish. Like if you wanted to dust off the honorable mentions briefly and then jump into your list, or however you wanted to present it, man.
Yeah. Well, first off, thanks for having me and letting me be on this. These have been super cool to listen to, and it's cool to just get like a little quick hit of things. So we'll try to keep this brief. I could go on for hours, but yeah, like I've being in a band for a while, and then like living in a town where there's shows every night. Like I've definitely seen more than 1,000 concerts in my life. So over the last couple of days, I've been going back and trying to think of like, okay, what are the ones that are the most memorable? And like a lot of them have been great. Like I tried not to, the ones that like my friends' bands and stuff, those are all super cool and memorable. But I tried to keep to the ones that had extra meaning. So I did pick 13. I'm going to run through them real quick. Some of them I've talked about before on the show. One of those being Shellac in Athens in, I think it was 2001. They were touring for 1,000 Hertz and getting to see them basically playing at a recording studio and then getting to play softball with them after the show. That makes honorable mention because I don't really remember much of the actual performance. It's more the like visuals of it and the softball game after, and just being like thinking like, oh, this is such a unique experience. Like, definitely gonna remember this. Seeing there's a band originally they're from Venezuela. They're called Zeta. They live in Florida now, but I went down to the fest in Gainesville a few years ago, and Zeta, they usually play every year, and they're great. They mix like Latin fusion rhythms with hardcore, and it's this really interesting thing. They have an album called Magia Infinita, which is amazing. And getting to see them live, like I've been wanting to see them for a long time, and getting to see them just in the afternoon, but like they've got 10 people on stage and switching instruments, and the guys like they're not even using microphones half the time, so you have to get up close. And like at one point the guy came out into the crowd and was doing like a whole thing. They covered Radiohead, which I didn't even realize at first. One of the songs, I think it was the national anthem from Kid A. Incredible performance. If you get a chance to see him, definitely do. Andy Peterson's Army is a hardcore band from, I believe they're from Denmark or Finland. They had come over and played a house in Athens when I was there. It's probably 1999 or 2000. And they're like this really furious, like thrash band. But seeing a band like that in a really tight and close space with like 20, 25 people, you're like, oh man, this is what it must have been like to see like the Circle Jerks in 1979 or Black Flag in 1980. It had that kind of feel to it, where there's like, the best thing about live shows is like when there's like a magic in the air, right? There's something like palpable in the air that you could feel, and you're like, something magical is happening right now. And I remember that show, just walking away being like, that was something really special, because they just tore the roof off the place. Furious, like people bouncing around. It was unbelievable. Next, Sunny Day Real Estate in 1998. I had been really into them in the when they first came out in 1994 and 1995. They had broken up in 1995, and I didn't think I'd ever get a chance to see them. But they reunited in '98, put out a new album, and toured, and that was really cool for me. I one of my favorite bands, and never get thought I'd get a chance to see them. So I remember those shows being really emotional and just trying to soak it all in and being like, "Oh, this is amazing!" Like they've gotten back together again. They're still around. I've gotten to see them 4 or 5 times now, but the first times was really really special seeing them. Um, Mets. I think I talked about this on the Mets episode. Seeing Mets, I think it was 2013 after they were just touring their first album, and they played at 529, which is a small club in East Atlanta. And I had to work at 5 a.m. the next morning, but I was like, I'm not missing Mets. So the show didn't start till like 11, and I'm like, oh my god, like I'm not even gonna sleep tonight. Should I stay? Like, should I go? I don't know what to do. Mets goes on at probably like 12:45 a.m. and again just blew doors like so loud, just the place just going crazy. There's probably 100 people there in this, and again in this tight little enclosed area. And I just remember like just buzzing after that show, being like got home and like slept for 3 hours, got up and went to work, and still just like that feeling of like, oh, you get goosebumps, like I just saw something really special. um the last honorable mention, and I'll get to the top five. um uh, uh, at the drive-in, um, getting to see them in 1998 and 1999. 1998, they played at the Echo Lounge in Atlanta. They opened up for Jimmy Eat World, actually,
Oh man.
which was a bad move on Jimmy Eat World's
Yeah.
part because At the Drive-In blew them off the stage. They were just like a tight ball of kinetic energy at that point. Like they would just come on and just explode. And I remember after that show just being like, "Oh my god, this is my favorite band." And then in 1999, they were supposed to play in Atlanta at the Point, but the Point had closed down. So I'd emailed their booking agent to be like, "Hey, you know, if they want to come play in Athens, we have a date that works out. So we'd love to have them. We would open up if there's a spot, but yeah, I'd love to have it." And then it turns out it worked out. We got to play with At the Drive-In. They were unbelievably amazing, and you can see videos of them. They're incredible live, and they got back together again. So we're gonna get to the top five. Um, my number five is the Murder City Devils
Oh yeah.
in Athens in, I think it was 2000 or 2001. The dates escape me. I'm old. But it was at a house, the Ultramod Compound, which is this guy, Gordon Lamb, who was a writer. He still is a writer for the weekly alt paper there. But it was his house, and he would do shows there. And it's basically in a living room. And so we're going to see the Murder City Devils, and they're getting set up. Like all the, you got to get the amps are ready, getting tuning the instruments, doing all that. But Spencer, their singer, is nowhere to be found. So they start kind of joking around, like, oh, you know, where is he? You know, I wonder where he went off to. So they're like ready to start the show, and like, where's Spencer? Can't find him. And they had this roadie named Gabe, who's like this huge, like hulking, like probably 6'4", you know, handlebar mustache, you know, denim cutoff jacket, like total, like you would think of like a roadie for a rock and roll band, right?
Mm.
So they're like, we can't find him. Nobody knows where he is. So Gabe like snaps into action, takes off out the door, right? The crowd's ready, like he kind of that expectation, the anticipation is building, right? Like what's going to happen. So Gabe takes off, comes back a minute later with Spencer under his arm, sets him in front of the microphone, and they kick in. And Spencer played the whole show with his eyes closed. I think he just got too drunk before the show. Whole show with his eyes closed, nailed it. They were just on fire. Like, and again, seeing a band like that in someone's living room is something you don't forget. And just incredible. And so they had played. They come back the next year and played in Atlanta at like a bar and at a club, and went to go see him. And I saw Spencer before the show, just like hanging out. And I was like, "Hey man, I saw you guys in Athens last year when when they had to go get you before the show, like, that was a bit, right? You were doing like a bit. He was like, no, I was fucked up. That made it even more cool that they weren't doing like a bit. That was amazing. My number 4 is seeing Against Me in Athens on their first tour, and it was just Laura and Kevin. Laura playing acoustic guitar, and Kevin, their first drummer, was just playing buckets. And I remember it was at this place called the Above Bookstore, which my friend Robert Newsom was running, and they had a basement. They would do shows in the basement. And I remember my friend Matt Roth had gotten a copy of, no, Against Me had sent him their 7-inch, the Crime 7-inch, really the first one that came out. They had an EP before that, but it wasn't really well released, well publicized. So we get the Crime 7-inch, and they had sent it to him to book a show. So I remember going there, and Matt's like, "You got to hear this record." So we go to the bookstore, and he plays it, and we're like, "Oh my god, this is like." At that time, you're like, "Oh my god, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard." Like, the songs are catchy, like it's kind of folky punk, but like it's got these energy, and these kids are from Gainesville, and they want to come play. So we set up the show, and just in this small little basement, seeing just the two of them, Laura and Kevin, playing, and her putting like all this emotion to these songs, and they're playing all the early songs. I remember they played Impact, which was a bonus track on the EP when the CD came out, and I remember just being blown away, and like I grabbed the set list, like I still have it, and like the flyer for the show, and like, oh my god, guys, like, come back soon. Like, what, like, who are you? Where did this come from? Mm-hmm. And like, we kind of got to know them a little bit, and we would book shows for them when they would come up for the next few years until they kind of graduated to the next level of like not playing basement shows anymore. Yeah, that was, and like I remember thinking like, this is going to change the world. This is amazing, and it sort of did.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah. My number 3 is Frank Turner. And this one, like, we haven't done a Frank Turner episode, even though I'd really love to for many different reasons. This one's super important to me, which we will get into if/when we do that episode. If anyone's out there and wants to do it, please let me know. Let Justin know. So Frank Turner is this British singer-songwriter. He's been around forever. He's huge in England and Europe, but he, medium-sized, famous here. But he did a show. He played at a festival in Decatur. This is probably 2013, 2014, maybe 2015. But like a festival with some like other, not like a punk festival or anything, just like some like regular bands playing. So he played in the afternoon, and then on his social media, he was like, "Oh, we're looking for another show to play tonight. We're looking for another show. Stay tuned. We're gonna try to work something out. We're gonna try to do a bonus." So, we're driving around and trying to figure out what's gonna happen, and then it turns out like we're like didn't go home. Like, we got to stick around in case he plays another show. So it turns out he like eventually works it out, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna meet at this park in Little Five Points." It's like kind of this little grassy concrete. It's not really a park like you would think of, like a wide open space. It's like a little park in between some shops and the road, right? It's probably 30 feet by 50 feet, just this open air little area with some tables and some grass and a tree, and like, it's a little sitting area kind of. He's like, we're gonna meet there at like 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, be there. We're just doing a pop-up show, right? So get there, and there's probably, again, maybe 50 people there kind of hanging around. He shows up, just runs out with an acoustic guitar, and they kind of make this little semicircle, and he starts playing. And he played for almost an hour, just acoustic, like busking on the street. And it was incredible. And like, he actually covered "Damn It" by Blink-182 at one point.
Didn't expect that coming.
Which was, yeah, amazing. And actually, one of the songs from this, I guess they had recorded it. He put out a box set the next year, and there was a bonus disc called 10 for 10, and he did a version of a song called English Curse, which is an a cappella song about the old England, like the kings and legend, for the kind of that kind of a thing. And the version of English Curse from this show is on that box set. It's called Atlanta Curse. Definitely check that out, and that's always cool that we have a record of that show and that it made it onto that box set. He thought it was cool enough to release. So the next two are pretty important. My number two is seeing Pearl Jam in Charlotte in 2013. So I had seen Pearl Jam in 1998 in Atlanta, and that was more like a thing like, okay, getting into punk rock now, like Pearl Jam is not going to be my favorite band anymore. I'll just go see them and then that'll be it, right? Like I'll be able to say that I've seen them and I'll move on. Like in a punk band, like Pearl Jam's not cool, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw them and then I didn't see them for 14 years. I had gone in 2012. I had started to get back into their live stuff, but they never came down before that actually, but they never played down here. Like famously, they never came and played the South, hardly ever. So I'd gone to see them in Memphis in 2012, and it was incredible. Like they're still great. They're at any time they're liable to play anything out of their catalog, right? The set list changes nightly. You never know what you're going to hear. People track what they hear. If you guys know, if you listen to those Pearl Jam Championship Edition, we definitely talked about it. But the Charlotte show was the next year, 2013, and that was when I was like, okay, I'm going to get back into this. And they came down. They didn't play Atlanta that year. So I drove up to Charlotte, got there like the night before, and I think I was like the sixth or seventh person in line, right? So I was like, all right, I'm going to get a good spot here. So waiting around all day for the show, get up to the rail, and I'm right in front of Ed on the rail. I'm like, this is going to be incredible. Like I was closer to him than the drummer, which is just unbelievable. And so finally, they come out on stage, and when you feel a responsibility when you're up that close, right? You're like, you have to be on your game. Like you have to be participating, you have to be singing along, you have to make it special because you're right there. So I'm like screaming along to every song, doing my thing. At one point, he saw me and he pointed at me and like threw a pick at me. Missed, of course, but the bouncer was nice enough to grab it off the floor and give it to me. But the cool part was like about 2/3 of the way through the show or whatever, he goes on this kind of rant about their album Lightning Bolt had just come out. It was just #1 in the Billboard rock charts or whatever. So he's talking about that. He's like, oh, it's nice to have be recognized for this record that we just put out and have it be #1. We didn't even have to show our tits, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm like, something clicks in my head, and I point over at Stone, who's on the side, and I'm like, come on, let's go, show him. And so people see me and they kind of join in. It kind of becomes a little thing. So we're all pointing at Stone, the guitar player, like, come on, show us. You gotta pull the shirt up. You gotta do it. So he gives a quick nod, pulls the shirt up, and of course everybody gets a big cheer. Everybody, the band kind of laughs about it. So I kind of got to participate in that moment with them. And then later on, during the song, I think the song "Elderly Woman Behind the Counter in a Small Town," there's a part where he's like, I seem to recognize your breath or something. He changed it to breast in the lyric and looked over at him and kind of did a little thing. So, and that was the first time I'd gotten to see them on the rail. I've been on the rail since then. They came to Atlanta finally again last year. Got to be on the rail for those, which is incredible. But that Charlotte one really sticks out as the first time I got to kind of be a part of it and see them up close and personal. So that's my number two. My number one is, of course, my favorite band, Fugazi. They had come and played two shows, Atlanta and Athens in 1999. So I'd gone down to the Atlanta show the night before, and I had taken my little handheld recorder to get like them to do an ID for the radio station. And I was talking to them, and I was like, "Hey, I have a DJ shift at the college radio station tomorrow. If you guys want, I would love to have you come up and you can just play records and we'll talk and just it'll be kind of casual and it'll be cool." Like I'm like, this would be amazing. Like people would love to hear. I would love to hear Fugazi like just talk about records and
Yeah.
play some of their favorite songs. I'm like, we have vinyl. We can actually play records. Um, so they're like, yeah, we'll let you know. Like we'll see if we can work it out. Um, thanks. We'll see. I'm so I get to the radio station the next day, the day of the Athens show, and I'm sitting at the board and getting ready to go on my shift, and the phone rings, and it's Brendan Canty from Fugazi.
Hmm.
And he's like, "Hey man, like we're not going to be able to make it. We ended up hanging out with some friends, and we're just kind of chilling out. Like, no, thanks for the invite, but we're not going to be able to do it." And I was like, I totally understand. It's not a problem, right? I was not holding them to it. You go hang out with your friends. It's totally fine. I'll be okay. So I decided instead to just play 2 hours or however 3 hours of Fugazi during my show. So I was like pulling out stuff from all across their catalog up to that point, just trying to mix and match, just playing different songs, talking about the show. Um, so I did that. Go back, get to the show. Right up front, and if you go to the Fugazi live series page for the show, there's a picture. They have some pictures from the show, and you can see me with my half mohawk or whatever in the front row. And so Ian comes out and he's like, "Where's the DJ? Where's the DJ?" And I'm like, "What? Okay, I'm here." And he's like, "Yeah, like you're on your, he's like, I thought you'd be fucking sick of us by now. I'm surprised you're here." I'm like, no, believe me, I was always gonna be here. It's cool. So they go through the show and like they played like something like 35 songs. I'm looking at this. It's like almost 2 hours, one of the longest shows in their history. And they get to the encore, the quote unquote encore, and Ian looks at me and he goes, "You're working on your fifth fucking hour of us today." And I'm like, "Yeah, like that should be every day. Like, I don't see the problem." And he's like, "We should give you a reward. Like, you should get something for that." He's like, "What song do you want to hear?" I'm like, "Oh my God." Like, and I like this moment lives in my brain constantly. Like time slows down, you get that whole thing where like, oh my God, like what am I going to do? Like, I need to remember this moment. Um, and like people are slapping me on the back, like my friends are there, like, oh my God. And so I like scream out. I'm trying to think of like, oh my, they'd already played 30 something songs. I'm like, oh my God, what have they not played that I would want to hear? Um, so I scream out "Great Cop," which is one of my favorite songs from In on the Kill Taker, In on the Kill Taker, like a super fast one. And I'm like, "Great Cop." And and you can hear this on the bootleg. There's a bootleg of the show that I have. And he goes, right, he goes, "I usually introduce the song by saying you'd make a great cop, you fucking pig." And they just like kick into the song. Like, again, they've been playing like almost 2 hours at this point, but I'm like, I still get goosebumps thinking about it. And I remember as the song's playing, like, I need to remember this. This is the coolest moment of my entire life. Um, and yeah, just I'm being blown away. And like they played a couple more songs and then the show ended. And as I'm walking out just on a high and like people coming up to me like, "Oh, that was a great choice. Like, oh, good job. Like super cool." I'm like, one of the coolest moments of my life. So that is my number one. And, those are some of the best shows I ever saw.
Man, that's some heavy hitters, folks. Good luck following that. Um, so we do a lot of these type of conversations on our after the fact. I want to point that out here. So if you enjoy these conversations and they become conversations on after the fact, You can pledge to the Patreon, patreon.com/oh hi Justin. It's only $1 a month. I understand if you can't, but if you can, $1 a month gets you in the door, and there's more back and forth. This I wanted to just give John the floor because I had the floor last week when we did this. If you want to do this as well, let me know. We'll line it up. We'll try to figure out a time to do it. And thanks again, John, for sharing. And
thank you.
We will see you all on Monday. Bye.